Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose.
Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. It is me, and in today's video it is going to be a really fun one. I have never really done a video like this before and I'm really excited, honestly. This is, if you haven't seen from the title, it is a reacting video. It is me reacting to my lockdown TBR at the beginning of March when we were first in lockdown quarantine. We all had a little bit more time to read. We didn't know if this lockdown was going to last 2 weeks, if it was going to last as it actually in fact has, which is like coming on eight months now, which I don't think anybody really expected. So at the beginning of March, when my reading motivation was sky high, I decided to make a TBR, not for a particular month or a particular readathon, but for the lockdown. We are actually in lockdown again from the past couple weeks, but you know what, this is from first lockdown. I want to react to see, have I read the books that I said I was going to read? Did I like them? Probably haven't read them, because honestly we all know that I don't stick to TBRs to save my life. So yeah, this is gonna be really fun. And what I find hilarious is the fact that I'm wearing the same top today that I wore when I filmed this video 6 months ago. I find that crazy because I genuinely did not know that I was going to film this video until this video of mine popped up and I was... Anyways, I'm just gonna get into this video. I'm sure this is gonna be so cringy and everything, but I've never done a reacting video before and this just sounds really fun. I'm gonna move over to this side of the screen because if I manage technology right, I'll be able to put the screen here. If I don't, we're just gonna forget that I ever said this. First of all, we have the old intro. I mean, love that for me.
Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So, in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you a...
Listen, I'm not going to be stopping and starting after every few seconds, but for real, why is my voice that high and squeaky and pitchy and like I don't sound Irish at all?
TBR of sorts, or just a list of books that I have wanted to read for a very long time, and now that we're stuck inside in quarantine, depending on how long the quarantine lasts for will depend.
I'm guessing, sis, it's gonna last for a lot longer than you're expecting right now. You're thinking that you have 2 weeks off of school. Winner, right? Well, let me tell you, you're gonna have a heck of a lot longer.
And on how many of these books I get read. So without further ado, let's get into the video and I hope you enjoy. Let me know down in the comments below if you've read any of these books or if any of these books are on your TBR as well. Okay, so here I am with my books. Let's just count how many is on.
Have I changed since March? Like, genuinely looking at my appearance, have I changed since March? I don't know if I have. Let me know down in the comments because I'm curious, because sometimes you can't see it on yourself. But anyways, okay.
14 books on here.
14 books?
I'm certain that I'm not going to get through, but you know what? We're just going to go in. So, let's start with book number 1. So the first book I have here is Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. This book...
Fun fact, I did read this book in August. I loved it. It is like one of my favorite books of all time now. I gave it like 6 out of 5 stars. It was freaking amazing. It took me a while to get through, but it did not disappoint. I'm just gonna be skipping to the second book because nobody needs that.
Book number 2 is Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor and Shannon.
Yes, I have read this book. I didn't really enjoy it. I didn't really enjoy the whole duology. Like, I did, but honestly, I think I did because everybody else did, and I didn't want to be that person who's like, I didn't really enjoy that because I just didn't get it. Like, I genuinely couldn't put my hand on a single thing that happened during this series, and that's no lie. Like, I wanted to like it. I thought the writing was very beautiful and lyrical, but no, I didn't enjoy this book. I still gave them both 5 stars because why? I don't know.
We will, if I have time, I will link the books down below.
I didn't have time
for yourself for a full synopsis. Book number 3 is Thunderhead by Neil Schusterman, and
no sir, I did not read this book. I read Scythe in March, so like just before I filmed this video. I haven't continued with the series. I was literally only thinking the other day about how I do need to continue the series though. So I mean, I guess this is fate and I do want to. I again really liked Scythe. A lot of people said that the series went downhill, so I got scared and didn't want to pick it up, but I do want to read this book.
I read Scythe.
Honestly, I'm shocked by the fact that I've already read 2 out of these 3 books so far. Like, I didn't expect to read any of them.
Lucy has joined the party. So the next book on my TBR is The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. This is actually the collection.
No, I have not read this book. I haven't even touched this book. I haven't even looked at this book. I haven't even thought of this book. I am not the hugest fan of adult fantasy. Fantasy used to be my favourite genre. I used to be really like a hoe for fantasy, and now I just don't understand it. Like, it takes a lot of brain power that sometimes I do not have. And I want to read this. I think it's gonna be amazing. But do I have the mental capacity to read this right now? No.
Book up is Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas, and this will be not a surprise to any.
Listen, yes, I did read this book. No, I did not finish this series. I did read this book like shortly after filming this video, because I had been reading it since September 2019 until like April 2020. I liked it. I thought a little parts were quite convenient and it just dragged a little bit for me. I don't know if that's because it took me 8 months to read. I don't know if that's because it's just getting deeper into the more political side of the series. I don't know. I read it. I liked it. Again, wasn't my favorite of the series, and I haven't continued the rest.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be reading this.
God, I hate myself.
We have Nevernight by J. Christoph, and honestly, I don't know what to say about this book. I don't like it.
Yeah. If you don't like it, then why are you putting it on this TBR? I know this is literally me, so I'm allowed to slate myself. Why did I put that on this TBR? Why? I ended up giving the paperback editions of Nevernight and God's Grave to my stepmom because I didn't want them, she wanted them. I do still have the Illumicrate editions of all three. Do I intend to read them? Maybe one day, but probably not. Like, my mood sometimes strikes weirdly and I will want to read like this random book that I haven't thought of in like a year. But other times, like in general, am I excited to read this book? Have I any plans to read this series? No, I have not. They look pretty on my shelves. Actually, you can't see them because they're crowded by other books that I have no room for. But they're very pretty. I mean, the editions that I have are beautiful. And if I do ever want to read them, those are the editions that I wanted. But I didn't really see any point in having 2 editions of a series that I didn't like. There's probably no need to even have 1 edition. But that's a whole nother story.
Next up is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. Basically any V.E. Schwab book.
Sir, no, absolutely not did I read this series. I read the first 40 pages for a readathon. I got really confused. It's honestly like a fever dream to me. He was turning his coat inside out and moving to different Londons. Like, I didn't get that. Maybe if I had actually put more effort into reading it and more effort into the series, I'm sure I'll like it. I maybe intend to do that at some stage. First of all, what I find funny about this TBR is I literally picked some of the only books off of my shelves. Like, I had, when I was filming this, yes, I did want to read A Darker Shade of Magic, but the only reason was because it was one of the only like unread books on my shelf. I have hauled over 100 books since this video was made, so as you can probably guess, it went down on the priority list.
I'm really excited to get into this because it sounds so like interesting.
No, it doesn't.
And I hope to read it. Next up on this TBR we have Emma by Jane Austen, and I have this beautiful edition that I got for Christmas and I love it so much.
Listen, let's stop putting books on our TBRs just to make us sound sophisticated. We all know that I only put this book on here so that I could be like,
I read classics.
you know? Like, I want to be the type of person who can say, yeah, I read classics, but I'm not that type of person. Despise them. And this is not to the actual story. Sometimes the stories are fine, but the language is just too complicated. Like, all I want is to read about some, like, enemies to lovers romance, some dragons, some historical fiction thrown in there that's gonna make you cry. That type of thing. I don't want to read about some hoity-toity 1800s woman who's trying to set up her friends. Like, no, that's not for me. I did like the movie. I am realizing how much I hate myself during this video. Oh, Emma, no.
So I have The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, another book that I bought as soon as it came out and I haven't gotten around to reading it yet. I received this one for...
Listen, I haven't read The Starless Sea. I read the first 100 pages on a bus trip last Christmas for shopping, It was the worst fucking bus trip of my life because it was this really rundown bus that didn't even have proper seats. I was with my mum and like 30 old women from our village. It was good when we got there because we did like Christmas shopping, but the bus was awful. I was trying to read because I thought it'd be a nice smooth bus and I can read on like fancy buses, but this was, I could feel every fucking stone in the road and I felt so nauseous and headachy. And honestly, again, this book is kind of like a fever dream. It's one that I really want to like, but I just don't, and it gives me such Strange the Dreamer vibes. And this was back when I was pretending to like Strange the Dreamer, so I was like thinking that this was going to be great, but I don't like Strange the Dreamer. I don't like the Starless Sea. I do want to, but I just don't, and I'm just gonna not lie.
Okay, next up is one that is kind of on my TBR but kind of not, so I didn't know whether to include it in this or not, but I said why not?
Why not?
Because, you know, you only live once.
We know.
So I put on Shadowhunters, City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. I have read no Cassandra Clare books and I am appalled.
Okay. So I said I have never read a Cassandra Clare book. I have. I've read Clockwork Angel. I really enjoyed it. I have no motivation or want or need or desperation to read The Mortal Instruments simply because there's an incest plot. That's disgusting. Nobody needs to read about that. Cassie, what were you thinking?
This is like pure YA trash and it was made in like 2010 or something, so
Yeah.
I don't know if I like this or not. I know
You
a lot
won't,
of people love it.
honey, you won't.
And I know a lot of people hate it as well, so I'm
You will hate
intrigued
it.
to see what side of the barrier I kind of fall into because I'm very good at making up my own. Next up is
Yes, you
Fury
are.
Born by Claire Legrand, and this has been on my TBR for a little while. I actually cannot even remember what month I bought this in, and I bought it for...
But the amount of hatred I have for this book is strong. It's astronomical, really. I don't like this book. I didn't like this book. I tried. I gave it a couple chances. Didn't like it. It's just so cliche. It's just so YA fantasy. And I know that's so dumb to say because it technically is a YA fantasy, but I'm just not into it. I just didn't like it. I don't want to be here. No, sir, not for me.
I have 3 books left, and again, this, I just wanted to be clear, like, this is not my April TBR, this is not my Alice TBR, they are separate books. These are just books that have been on my TBR for a very long time, or ones that I'm really interested in reading. So, without further ado, let's get into the last 3. So up next, I have Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I received this as a gift for Christmas and I was so excited because I've heard a lot of...
So I've read 100 or something pages of this halfway through this book. I have to say I am enjoying it, but where was I? Oh yeah, I was saying I really liked the Darkling. I don't know what that says about me as a person, but I really shipped the Darkling with whoever the main character was. I don't even remember. I liked the concept. I think it was really cool and I do want to actually finish this book and I don't know why I haven't.
Is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. This book sounds amazing. It sounds the epitome of everything that I love and adore and want to read.
I haven't read it. I borrowed this book from my nan after she finished it. I do want to read this, but it's intimidating. It's like a 700-page book with dual timelines that's involving a lot of thinking that I don't necessarily have. And I don't know what else to say.
The final book on this
Thank God.
TBR video or quarantine video or whatever you want to call it is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Not particularly just this book because this is actually the books that I'm currently reading, but the whole Harry Potter series because...
I'm gonna stop you there because I don't even need to know a because. In fact, I did read The Prisoner of Azkaban. I also read The Goblet of Fire. Then J.K. Rowling became a TERF. We don't stan her in this household. We don't like her. I do not support her. Of course, my love for Harry Potter is still there because in my eyes, Harry Potter is not J.K. Rowling. But I have listened to the trans voices and the people who are hurt by these comments even more than I was. Though I will always still love Harry Potter, I'm not promoting it, I'm not liking it. I did enjoy my read. I've never read this series before and I feel like it's kind of a staple in everybody's reading career. But yeah, so that is it for this video. You can find out that I do not stick to TBRs. I don't know how many out of those I have read.